Hey folks, today I am making some venison stock for the first time for me. This is technically the first official part of a series where I'm going to be showing y'all what I am doing with the deer that I harvested this year, and it'll be pretty much my first time doing everything except for cooking the ground meat and probably making some deer jerky. But all the roasts and different things like that, it'll be my first time, and the goal here is just to show you all that just because you've never done it before doesn't mean you can't ever do it. But I have a lot more about what I'm doing and why in the video that is before this, so feel free to go check that out. But today we're making venison stock, and I have a bag of bones here. I don't have as many of the bones as I could have just because I left a lot of things bone in, like all the shanks. So I have a lot more meat on these than I'd like. At the same time, this supposedly should be good for the stock. I am following Hank Shaw's directions from Hunt, Gather, Cook. I really like him. I like all of his stuff. I've learned a lot from him. His methods and tips and recipes just work for me. So I'm gonna try to do everything that he says. He doesn't say to cut these or anything, but that's what I keep reading elsewhere, and that's what I've been told. So I'm gonna cut these just to expose the marrow, and that's what we're gonna start with. I don't have like a hacksaw or anything, but I do have this, which is what I used to process my deer. So we'll, just get going. All right, so we are gonna pop these bones in at 400 degrees. I greased the pan a little bit with some olive oil, but otherwise, we're just going bones in, baby. Okay, so we've roasted our bones. Now I am going to put it into my stock pot. I had it in there for probably about 45 minutes. Maybe could have just done 30, I don't really know. So now I'm gonna fill the pot with water. I'm doing cold water because I've read that taking cold water to a boil will actually allow more of the collagen to release and dissolve. All right, so I brought it to a boil, and I took it off the heat just so it could settle, and I can take some of these little scummy bits off the top. I might let it boil a little more just to let things rise to the top, because right now it's not really looking exactly how it should. Once I'm done with that, I'm just gonna put it back on and let it simmer. All right, so it's been like 20 hours. I was gonna do this earlier today, but I got busy. So I had some trouble getting the heat right on my stove. If I turned it down, it wouldn't be like simmering really at all. But if I got it a little hotter, it was bubbling too much or not at all. So it was bubbling too much through the night. I lost some water to evaporating, which is a bummer, but I think it'll be all right. I've been saving my vegetable clippings or excess vegetable stuff for a bit for this. So I've got a bunch of different stuff. It'd probably be better if I used fresh stuff, and I was gonna do that, but I don't want to go to the store, and I'm gonna use the fresh stuff for something tomorrow. So we're gonna use this and see how it goes. I might throw a couple fresh vegetables in there, but I decided that I did want some fresh veggies for the stock, and I realized I could just prep for the stew I was making the next day and throw the excess into the pot, which worked out well. And now we're gonna stir it around. I may have put a little too much in there, but we'll see. So now I'm gonna cap it and try to get it back to a simmer and then let it ride for an hour or two. All right, so I've let it simmer for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I'm going to start taking the pieces out with some tongs, and then I'm going to strain it. That's a nice color. Wow, that whole shoulder blade. Just like all of it's gone. That's crazy. All right, so now I have a really fine mesh strainer. You know, now that I've got all the vegetables out, I'm gonna strain this and into this bowl so that I can clean this up. And then I'm gonna put it back in and reduce it a little bit. Probably not much, but then I'm gonna put some salt in. Again, not much. So it's a little cloudier than I'd want, but you know, we'll chalk that up to first time. Maybe I can work on trying to get the stove dialed because I think I was just running it a little too hot. But at the same time, it doesn't look bad. It smells real good. So I'm ready to put it in some soups. I'm gonna put it in the pot again and just simmer it for a little bit longer and put some salt in and let that dissolve, and then we'll put it in jars. Okay, so I salted the stock broth, whatever, salted it up, let that salt dissolve, simmered it for just like maybe like 20 minutes, 30 max. I didn't want to like really boil it down, but it had a kind of off smell from I think the frozen vegetables that I put in, and I wanted to see if letting it boil or like simmer for a little longer might get that off. It didn't. But I gave it a taste, and it tastes really good. It's just the smell isn't really what I was expecting. I think I might have simmered it a little too hot. But anyway, we're ready to go. I've got it in this bowl just because I think it'll be easier to pour into the mason jars better. We're going to put it in the mason jars and just let it cool. And then I'm going to cap it, and I'll probably keep half of it in the fridge and then freeze the other half. This is what we're working with in the end. Like I said, it's a little more cloudy than it ought to be, a little bit more cloudy than I'd like it to be, but it's not bad. I really only have like other YouTube videos to go off of, so this doesn't look that much worse than theirs. And I think that if I give this a second go around, it'll be even better, but I feel good about what we've got here. For the amount of bones that I had, I feel good about the amount that I got. I'm gonna make some stew with this tomorrow, and that's what we're using this bigger one for. And then I'm probably gonna freeze most of it, maybe give some to my friends if they want it. Okay, so final comments. I'll try to make this quick. I'm gonna give y'all kind of some of the mistakes that I think that I made and what I wanna prove on next time. But before I do that, if you liked this and you want to see the rest of the things I'm gonna do cooking this deer, please like the video, subscribe. If you have any comments, like you didn't like I did something, or you thought I made a mistake, or you've got an idea for me to improve, or you've got a question or whatever, please leave a comment. Love to chat. Also, if you want to look at any of the items that I used in this video, I will have links to those in the caption below, as well as links to my other socials. I've got some fun videos on other platforms as well if you want to check those out. So main things that I learned and main things I'll do differently next time. Kind of three main things. Number one, I will not use frozen vegetable scraps again. I think that's the biggest contributor to the bitter smell that came along with it, and it has a slight bitter taste, but it's not really noticeable. I just will use fresh vegetables from now on. Number two, I'm gonna spend a little bit more time dialing in the simmer. I have an old stove, and like I said in the video, it was really hard to get it to actually simmer without boiling or just being completely still and just being warm. I think having less vegetable scraps will also help. I probably put a little too much in. I think I definitely put a little too much in. Put, you know, a little less vegetable scraps, fresh vegetable scraps, getting it to actually simmer. And then the third thing, I'm gonna oil the bones up. I just put oil in the pan, and I forgot in Hank Shaw's guide, he recommends that you put oil on the actual bones before you roast them. Messed up there. I don't think it had too negative of an effect, but I do think that it will improve next time if I oil the bones before I roast them. Also, one thing I kind of understand a little bit better now, I believe I made a broth, not a stock, because I think broth is something that you can kind of like have as a standalone thing. And once mine was done and I put it in the fridge, it congealed within 24 hours and was like still liquidy, but was definitely like almost like a jelly, which is an indicator to me that it became a broth. I think a big part of that was one of the bones I had in there was the bottom end of a shank that I had cut off so that I could fit the rest of the shank in a vacuum sealed bag with the meat. I had all the connective tissue, all of the tendons and whatnot. And when I took that bone out of the stock, it was all gone except for the bone. I had a couple other pieces in there like that. I think that really thickened it up, which is cool. And if I want to make a broth again, I will do that. But if I want to make a stock, I'll probably leave that stuff out. But at the end of the day, you know, I made some mistakes. It didn't turn out as good as it could have, but it turned out as good as I needed it to. I used it in the stew the next day, and it worked out really well. The stew was great, loved it. It tasted really good, and with everything else that I had in there, the bitterness that was in the broth did not overpower everything else, and it was not even noticeable. So overall, success. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And after this will be my stew video. So if you like this, go check out the stew once it's published, or if it's already out, go check it out.